Why did Mihawk want to become the world's strongest? What has Crocodile been doing? And all new bounties all in this chapter. Chapter 1058 gave us hints into what Crocodile may have been doing since we last saw him, and I think the Gemman may run into an unlikely ally in Whole Cake. So I'll be giving my thoughts on all of that, along with predictions for where the story may go next, so stay tuned. Oda crammed a lot into this chapter, so I'll be dividing it into parts. Feel free to check which interests you. How Mihawk became the world's strongest swordsman. We know Mihawk ever since the Baratier arc, where he fought Zoro, and showed us a glimpse of the strength of the Grand Line. But after Baratier, we see him from time to time interacting with different people like Shanks and Doflamingo, and that was all we saw of him till the Summit War. And because Mihawk is Zoro's end goal, we haven't been able to explore him in any meaningful manner, so we really don't know anything about him. All we know is that he had duels with Shanks in the past. It isn't stated if he was the world's strongest at the time of their fights, although it's likely since their fights ran through the New World. And along the line, he started to love peace. This is likely due to his upbringing, because we see him as a child training with a blade, so he could have been in a war-torn country. And from this chapter, it's implied he was betrayed once in his past by someone he trusted. In this chapter, we also find out he was known as the Marine Hunter. The reveal that Mihawk used to be called the Marine Hunter is a nice parallel to Zoro being the Pirate Hunter, and how both became what they were hunting. This may be even more important later on in the story. One of the things that I've always wondered is how did Mihawk get the title of World's Strongest? I see two ways this could have happened. Either he just went around fighting everyone with a blade and kept winning until he beat so many people. His reputation and public perception gained him the title of World's Strongest. Essentially, because everyone thought he was the strongest, he was given the title. But that won't hold up because there are other swordsmen who the public view highly. So it's most likely the second option, which is that he beat the former number one, who I think was an Admiral. Let me explain my reason as to why I think he was a Marine Admiral who held the title before Mihawk. To begin, we know the Marines have a strict hierarchical structure where there can only be 3 admirals at a time and 1 fleet admiral. So how did Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru become admirals at the same time? We've seen all 3 of the original admirals when they were vice admirals. So once Sengoku was promoted to fleet admiral, there must have been 2 free slots for all 3 to become admirals. So the question is, who were the admirals during that period? For a position as important as that in the story, I'm surprised Oda hasn't touched on this more, or it could be that he's saving it for later down the line. Let's put together the facts. We know that it's likely that Kong was the fleet admiral when Son Goku was an admiral, and Garp revealed the position of admiral on multiple occasions, but there must always be 3 admirals, so who were the remaining 2? I can't say for both, but I think one of the former admirals was the world's strongest, or at the very least one of the strongest swordsmen at the time. The Marines, for as large of an organization as it is, lacks any proper swordsmen. Most just use a blade because it's a weapon and don't practice anything deeper from what we've seen. It's the same as them just carrying pistols. This doesn't make them marksmen. And it's odd that the government, who fear the Wano samurai, won't train more people in the art of the blade. Back to why I think he was an admiral. It should just make sense for a challenge worthy of the world's strongest, and I can't see Oda not touching on it. And I've always had the theory that he was a Marine that was the former world's strongest swordsman. But chapter 1058 all but confirmed it, as we know Mihawk only fights those he deems worthy, and it's safe to speculate that Mihawk is only interested in fighting swordsmen, as in with a plethora of opponents still around that he could fight, he never tries to, because none are swordsmen aside Shanks, but he doesn't fight him for other fish related issues. So we can assume that the people Mihawk challenged in the Navy were swordsmen, and definitely not the founder of the organization, and we know the rank of Admiral is an important position in Marine. That's why I'm sure Oda is just saving the 2 former admirals for later on in the story, and one being tied to Mihawk could be an interesting concept. In the beginning of the chapter, we see the crew interacting with each other on the ship. It's been a long time since the start of Dressrosa that the crew have all been on the ship together, not heading for any conflict but just relaxing. And like all the rest chapters after and out, we get the Strawhats Bounties. Before the Bounties, we see Jinbei's interaction with the crew, mainly Nami, as Concross is coming off of her. It is foreshadowing or a gag. She was able to subdue Zeus, who has a portion of Big Mom's soul, the soul of a conqueror, so it's possible that she has it, although slim. Now for the Bounties, we start with Chopper, and just like I predicted, he gets a now their berry increase to make him a 1000 berry man. I really do hope he gets a proper bounty soon, as the gag isn't funny anymore. For the other members of the crew, I thought they'd be individually graded based on who they fought in the raid, but most of them just got a 300 million increase to their former bounties. So Nami now has a 366 million bounty, which is higher than I predicted. Brook as well got a 383 million bounty, which is also higher than I predicted. But frankly, being at just 394 million is way lower than I thought, considering who he fought, the Tobiroko with the 3rd highest bounty. So for him to not reach at least 400 is really low, and now his bounty picture is of the 1000 Sunny. This may be foreshadowing how Frankie would turn the Sunny into Pluton or a mecha in the final war, but it is still odd. Like, how did the person who approved this look at the picture of a ship and think it was a person? Something interesting to think about with all these bounties is what will be the worth of the ancient weapons. Now for Usopp, I got the bounty spot on, with his 500 million being the same as Luffy's old bounty. Although Usopp did a list of any strats in the raid, I think that was by design, as he is going to have to reflect on whether he is worthy of this bounty and if he is making any progress towards his dream. That's why I think Elbaf has to be the next act. Moving on to the Queen, Nico Robin finally gets the recognition she deserves. Although it's not a billion, it's close, being now than 30 million, the fourth highest female in the entire story, and she probably isn't getting a billion to distinguish the top commanders from the others, but I have hope she will be over a billion one day. Now, for someone that surprised me, I had thought he'd get a 900 million berry bounty, but Jimbe in fact got a 1.1 billion bounty. And from the other bounty we see in the chapter, that being Crocodile, it seems to assume that all the former warlords have a bounty over or close to 1 billion. This adds more intrigue to Boa and Kobe's fight and what the outcome could be. To move on to the monster trio, Sanji gets a bounty of 1.032 billion. This is a bit too low. It's not even higher than Queen, who he beat, and it's now lower than both Zoro and Jinbe, making him the fourth highest in the crew. Although this is disappointing, we see something interesting happen to Sanji. Whether it be a gag similar to Nami's, it's clear that after the time skip, Oda has been showing Sanji on fire more and more. It's likely that he's connected to the Lunarians in some way, as alluded in his fight against Queen. As for Zoro, there was some mix up with his bounty, but now it's confirmed to be 1.111 billion. It is also a bit too low for me, because I thought he would at least pass Luffy's former bounty of 1.5 billion with all he did in the raid. He really should be higher. He's not even higher than Queen at this point. Oda must have a reason aside it being a birthday pawn. As we see Zoro and Sanji fighting, something is missing. We don't say a certain bunny, but that's not important. Luffy is still in the cage as we move over to the home base of Cross Guild. We see Buggy being punished by both Crocodile and Mihawk, as most people thought. It was all a misunderstanding that made Buggy become a Yonko. In truth, the Cross Guild was founded by Crocodile when he asked Mihawk to form an alliance together. We see in the flashback that Crocodile contacts Mihawk as he is about to relocate and said they will be a good team. This is when we get the information on Mihawk being called Marine Hunter. Since both Mihawk and Crocodile have been betrayed in the past, and I wonder with all the parallels with Zoro, could it be that Mihawk also had a childhood friend, but instead of support, he was betrayed? We see another flashback, this time from Buggy's point of view. As he is about to escape from the Marines, Crocodile shows up and starts destroying Marine ships, and with this he saved Buggy unintentionally. Another revelation, although not as grand as the others in the chapter. Apparently, Buggy borrowed money from Crocodile in order to start the Buggy delivery service. I had always thought he used Captain John's treasure to start his business, but with this we have some questions like 1. Did Buggy find the treasure? 2. Was it no money? And if so, what was it? 3. Where did Crocodile get the money from? Was it slavery? He made a comment about selling Buggy. 4. Who exactly is this person that was helping Crocodile? Back to the flashback, Buggy convinces Crocodile that they should work together. A double alliance was made this chapter with one of the most untrustworthy person in the story. Back to the present, it is even explained how Buggy looked the best on the bounty poster. Apparently, his henchmen loved him so much they photoshopped Buggy to look the coolest and distributed the flyers around the world. I know it's a gag to make Buggy look good, but it just makes the government look so bad. They have spies, so why can't they just put in effort to send someone to investigate and confirm the information? If not, what's the purpose of the remaining CP agents? CP 1 through 8 have done nothing in the story so far. As we go to the Marine HQ, we learn that the Cross Guild now has backing from the underworld, and rebellions are on the rise thanks to the Flame Emperor. Crocodile now has a bounty of 1.9 billion. Like I said, the warlords likely have their bounties elevated now that the system is abolished. If Crocodile has over a billion, Boa has to have over a billion too. And I also think she loses to Kobe because we haven't made progress on Kobe's dream, and for him to beat someone with a bounty of 1 billion, it will push him closer to the dream, maybe even becoming a Vice Admiral in the process. Now for the world's strongest swordsman, he gets a bounty of 3.59 billion just for his strength. It isn't because he is with Buggy and Crocodile now. If that was the case, Buggy's bounty of 3.1 billion would be higher than Mihawk. And the debate about who is stronger between him and Shanks doesn't have to be complicated. One has the title and the other does not, unless we are disregarding titles now. Buggy's bounty being above Luffy is criminal. If only the government did their homework, but I guess that's too much for them. Like I said in the video, Mihawk just wants peace. He isn't interested in becoming a Yonko. I really need his backstory as to why he sought strength but wants peace. Buggy is left as the leader so he can be the one the Marines chase after. And I like Crocodile's smile in this panel. It's going to be fun seeing what role they play going forward in the story. And I do hope Buggy gets stronger, at least stronger than his men. And I also would like to know how Buggy really views his life. From the Pirate King's crew to a weak man carried by lies, what does he think of himself now? Going over to the Revolutionaries, the commanders have returned and they all look fine. How exactly did they escape? Because Marie-Joyce is on top of the red line, and for them to be in enemy's territory and be outnumbered having 2 admirals there, and for them to be unharmed is a miss for the government, and they must have saved after them, right? After hearing the news, we see a bit of Dragon's morals, but it's surprising to see him angry about Sabo potentially killing Cobra considering the type of organization he runs. Kuma is back but isn't himself yet. And where is Bonnie? She isn't with Kuma. Although that was her goal, I think she may be with Sabo. Sabo continues his call, but he is tracked by the Marines, so they should know the Revolutionaries' location. They have to send ships to wipe them out. I know they are full at the moment because of the rebellions, but the easiest way to stop or at least reduce it is to take out the leader. Like I said, Speed 128 haven't done anything, send them. And that's the end of the chapter. As for who I think the Gemma may ally with, it's either Pudding or the Sun Pirates, because for some reason, we don't even what happened to them up in the air, so more than likely they are alive. And I also think Blackbeard makes an appearance next chapter, and we finally find out where the crew is going to. Thanks for watching. This was a long one, and if you're here still, I'm happy. Hope I got my points across, and if you want to see more, like and sub, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.